Hello, I'm James Cridland, the radio futurologist, and this is Radioland, my international radio trends newsletter for October the 19th, 2025. New Tesla, it might not have a radio in it. Next year's cheapest Tesla, the base model Tesla Model 3 Standard 2026, won't have a radio. Now, Teslas have never had AM radios, as I understand it, but at $38,630, the Tesla Model 3 Standard doesn't even list an FM radio in its list of options, according to a report in Motor Trends. They say, we had seen that there would be a less powerful radio option, but we weren't expecting the loss of a terrestrial radio connection in the standard trim's content. I've also spotted this in the Tesla US website. In a Tesla, the owner's manual says you have access to TuneIn and Apple Music, both of which do live radio stations, but you'll need some access to data. If you do want to access music and media streaming in your car, you'll need to buy access to premium connectivity, which is $9.99 a month, or you can use Bluetooth to your mobile, because Tesla don't support Apple CarPlay or Android Auto either. Tesla has seen sales slump in Europe. January to August sales were down 43% in the EU, down 33% in Europe as a whole, and its market share in the US is the lowest since 2017, so pulling the radio out completely is hardly going to help the company's already battered reputation. In Brisbane, the commercial talk station 4BC has lost its breakfast presenter. This was Friday morning, just before 9, and Peter Fegan.
I'm back 5:30 Monday morning. Have a fantastic weekend. Look after yourselves, and as I like to say, be good, Brizzy.
Be good, Brizzy. Yes, he had told listeners that he'd be back 5:30 Monday morning, but actually, no, he wouldn't be.
I'd like to share with you some changes being made to the 4BC on-air lineup. Peter Fegan has finished up on air as the host of 4BC Breakfast.
Yes, Fegan, who'd been doing the show for just 13 months, wasn't allowed to say goodbye. Another example of Australian commercial radio not caring about its audience, albeit there wasn't much of an audience to care about. Fegan had a 3.6% share on Breakfast. Talk competitor ABC Radio Brisbane had 10.1%. But for whatever reason, Australia likes to focus on listening share, but 4BC's share is driven by its high time spent listening. And a share figure hides how badly the station was actually doing in terms of audience. For the 5:30 to 9 a.m. slot, just 77,000 listened to Fegan on 4BC. That's in comparison to 172,000 to ABC Radio Brisbane, 69,000 to ABC News Radio, and a pitiful 33,000 to ABC Radio National. And we shouldn't forget that all of these figures are taken over the last 2 survey periods and averaged. 4BC will have access to the more private 1 survey numbers, and those may have shown a further trend down. I listened to Friday's 7 till 8 a.m. hour. I heard Fegan run a very divisive phone-in subject on whether there should be a Greater Brisbane set up for lots of callers to call and say how much they hated other parts of Brisbane, egged on by Fegan. There was also an anti-renewable energy rant, an aside about how the government is losing it, a 10-minute interview with a man on a mobile phone from the Courier Mail on the Greater Brisbane idea and how bad it was. Actually, the journalist quite liked it. And 5 minutes of sports talk with a studio guest. He voiced 5 ads. We also heard 6 traffic reports with various sponsor credits and 7 minutes of commercials. I heard nothing to make me proud of living in Brisbane, although perhaps that's not the point. Anyway, he's being filled in from Monday, temporarily, by a Channel 9 weather reporter. Brett de Brits, who'd worked for the station as a producer for a while and is clearly still a committed listener, suggests that what works in Sydney, raging, angry announcers keen to berate and shout about whatever little thing upsets them, is not what works in Brisbane, and he may have a point. The talk personalities that seem to work in this market are people who you'd like to spend time with in the pub, whether it's Steve Austin, Loretta Ryan, Craig Zonka, Sophie Formica, Bill McDonald, Ellen Fanning, or others. In the UK, media regulator Ofcom is running a consultation on the availability of radio on smart speakers. They're suggesting that guaranteed access to UK radio will be required for Amazon Alexa, Google and Apple devices. trade body Radio Centre has explained what the legislation might mean. I'll link to that from my newsletter. And as ever, I think that's good thinking from Ofcom. And an interesting piece from Westwood One about how to make audio ads better. Brand early and often is decent advice. I had a rule of client name at least 3 times in every ad, though they're rather more aggressive. Less is more is also on the button, focusing on one thing to say and saying it well. They also suggest that humour works and using music as a sonic brand anchor is a good plan. It's a good article. You should head over and read that. Next, I'm speaking at Radio Days Europe in Riga, in Latvia, in March, which is very exciting. Maybe speaking in Sri Lanka a little bit later on in the year. I'm just waiting for that to either come back and say yes or come back and say, absolutely not, James. No, go away. So you'll be the first to know. You won't be the first to know. But this is a podcast. This is not how it works. And thank you to the supporters who support my newsletter and this podcast. How about Clyde Broadcast and Media Realm at Soma FM, named after the drug in Aldous Huxley's book, I was reminded the other day, and Radio King as well. Thank you to them. Thank you also to Greg Strassel, to Sam Phelps, Richard Hilton, Emma Gibbs, Jocelyn Abbey and James Masterton for being regular supporters. You can support this newsletter and podcast at buymeacoffee.com/James Cridland. You can become a member to give regularly or just give a one-off coffee or 5 if you like. I'm on Blue Sky as james.crid.land or on Mastodon as james@bne.social. And my website has more detail about who I am, what I do and whether I can help you further. You'll find that at james.crid.land. And keep listening.